For patients with triple negative breast cancer, chemotherapy is the only treatment option they have right now that's approved. And it works well in some patients, but not all patients. And even in the patients where it works, unfortunately, the cancer eventually develops resistance and you have to move on to a different type of chemotherapy. So the problem with that is, first of all, it's not the most effective treatment, but also, obviously, chemotherapy has toxicity. So these women basically are exposed to, basically chronic chemotherapy with all the toxicities, even though it's not very effective. So trying to come up with a more rational treatment approach is really critical. So identifying that triple negative breast cancer is heterogeneous and there's at least 6 different subtypes is a very important finding. On the plus side, it allows us to understand the biology of the subtypes better than we did before. On the downside, you're now talking about subdividing what's one of our least common breast cancers into 6 different subtypes. So unfortunately, you have less patients available to put on clinical trials to look at new therapies, but that's something that we have to deal with, and it's something that it's very important that we all collaborate to try and address these questions and accrue patients onto these trials. One of the subtypes of triple negative breast cancer is really very interesting. So it actually looks like an estrogen receptor positive breast cancer from a genetic standpoint, but it's estrogen receptor negative and androgen receptor positive. So the reason it's very interesting is because obviously in prostate cancer, we have a whole bunch of agents that are very effective and they target the androgen receptor. So the thought is, could we target androgen receptor in these triple negative breast cancers and potentially result in a treatment that's going to be effective for patients, but also less toxic than the current therapies that we have. So what we're doing here is we're going to treat patients with an agent that targets the androgen receptor, which is bicalutamide, along with a CDK inhibitor, which is LEE-011, which is a Novartis CDK inhibitor. So our hypothesis is that by using the CDK inhibitor with the androgen receptor inhibitor, that we can enhance the efficacy of the androgen receptor inhibitor and hopefully get higher response rates and better disease control than by just targeting the androgen receptor alone.
The type of breast cancer you have is called triple negative. This means your tumor does not have the estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor, or the human epidermal growth factor receptor 2. Breast cancer treatment strategies usually work by blocking one or more of these 3 common receptors. Since your tumor does not possess these receptors, researchers are looking for other receptors to block for the treatment of triple negative breast cancer. Cancer cells have the ability to grow and divide without stopping. Ribociclib is an enzyme inhibitor that acts as a brake to interrupt and slow or stop the growth of cancer cells. Ribociclib may also help prevent resistance to androgen receptor therapy. Researchers will use an androgen receptor blocker called bicalutamide in this trial. Androgen receptor blockers are normally used to treat prostate cancer, but researchers are exploring whether they are also useful in breast cancer. Some oncologists believe that combining ribociclib and bicalutamide will offer more benefits than giving either drug alone. There are 2 parts to this study. The first part, called Phase 1, will determine the maximum safe dose of ribociclib combined with bicalutamide. The second part, called Phase 2, will help researchers learn what effects, both good and bad, this combination of drugs has on triple negative breast cancer. Participation in this study is optional, and the use of ribociclib in combination with bicalutamide is investigational. Investigational means that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has not approved ribociclib and has not approved this combination of drugs for your type of cancer. Talk to your doctor to learn more. The tests, exams, and procedures you will have that are part of the usual approach for your cancer will be billed to you or your insurance company as usual. Tests or procedures performed only for this study will be paid for by the study. A full description of this clinical trial is also available at www.clinicaltrials.gov.